Welcome to the White House. Very proud to have the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, on the BS Report. This is your first podcast.
This is, well, I used to have my own podcast.
What?
When I was a U.S. Senator, I was way ahead of the curve on the podcast thing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it had as many listeners as you.
What was this podcast called?
I really don't remember. A podcast with Barack Obama,
Oh,
think.
it's a
Something
good
like
title.
that. It is a catchy name. Yeah.
I want to talk about sports. You have plenty of time to talk about politics with whoever. How do you have time to follow sports when you have the busiest job on the planet?
Well, first of all, I don't watch network news or cable news. So in the morning when I'm working out with Michelle, it's on SportsCenter. This is the one thing that she allows me
That's nice.
to control is SportsCenter. So, so that pretty much keeps up the family on whatever's happened the night before. And, you know, I tend to be a night guy. Michelle and the girls go to bed around 9:30 or so. And so, you know, I usually have to stay up till about midnight or 1 reading stuff. And every once in a while I'll sneak in a ball game as I'm reading my briefings.
That's funny because I always pictured you in bed pretending you were working but watching League Pass on your iPad, watching some West Coast game of the Clippers and Kings or something.
I do have League Pass on my iPad.
You do?
Of course.
Did you pay for it yourself or did you charge to the White House?
No, I've got to pay for it myself.
So you're catching up obviously on the fact that you have been surpassed as the most famous person who was a Harvard graduate.
Jeremy is doing good, and I knew about Jeremy before you did, or everybody else did, because you know, Arne Duncan, my Secretary of Education, was captain of the Harvard team.
Right.
And so way back when, Arne and I were playing, and he said, "I'm telling you, we've got this terrific guard named Jeremy Lin at Harvard." And then one of my best friends, his son's a freshman at Harvard, so when he went out for a recruiting trip, he saw Lin in action. So, you know, so I've been on the Jeremy Lin bandwagon.
Are you
for a while.
taking credit for Linsanity? It kind of feels like you are a little bit.
I can't take credit for it, but I'm just saying I was there early.
I'm surprised you didn't steer him toward the Bulls when he was floating around and getting waived by teams.
We've got this pretty good point guard on the Bulls as well. So
I've
he
heard
might
about
he
him.
might not have gotten as much PT as he did. But look, it's a great story. And what's interesting is the fact that somehow folks were missing it in practice.
Right.
I mean, that's what's interesting, because you got to assume that during scrimmages, you know, he was running that pick and roll pretty well.
Right.
And you know, it is a terrific story. He seems like a wonderful young man, and look, you know, it elevates this great sport all around the world. You know, it can't hurt ratings for basketball in China.
But at the same time, you're a little worried as a Bulls fan because he's in the Eastern Conference.
I'm not worried.
Suddenly there's a potential threat.
You know, if you look at what has been happening with the Bulls, even with Rose out, even with Deng out, still got one of the best records in the league.
So
that
like
is
your
a
team.
well-coached team. And I know you're a big Celtics fan.
Yeah.
Thank you for Thibodeau, who
That hurts.
He's an outstanding coach. No,
He
Doc
is.
Rivers is a great coach as well. But for us to have been able to get that guy, he has just done a great job with what we've got.
Why should you feel different about the Bulls this year than last spring when it was basically Derrick Rose going 1-on-5 in the playoffs? What makes you feel better about this year's team?
Deng seems more confident. Boozer's in better shape. You know, Derrick Rose has matured. I'm a little worried about making sure that they give him enough rest with, you know, the back spasms that he had.
Yep.
But you know, the Bulls, I think, are right in there. I think they've got a great chance. The Heat are playing better than anybody right now, and when those folks get going on the fast break, it's over. But but you know, during the playoffs, things slow down a little bit, and you got to run a half-court offense. And in that situation, you know, I think the Bulls got a shot.
Over the last 5 years, how many times have you envisioned welcoming the world champion Chicago Bulls to the White House?
Every year, and it hasn't happened yet, but it will happen.
It will happen. You're guaranteed. You're like Joe Namath. You're guaranteeing it.
Well, you know, I've got another 5 years here, and
You're guaranteeing that too.
somewhere along the line, my Bulls are going to come through here. Absolutely.
You'll probably cry. You'll well up a little bit.
You know, I mean, I probably won't do the whole Jordan hugging the ball thing.
Right.
You know,
You'd land on the ground.
that would be a little extreme. I'll be pretty happy though.